Persons under 18 will not be admitted.
Every 10 or 15 years, a film is produced that is so overwhelming, so forceful in its impact, that it becomes deeply embedded in the mind.
So come on, step it up, break it down and lose it. Come on, follow us to the new revolution. Come on, step it up, break it down and lose it. Come on, follow us to the new revolution.
Hi, this is Maurice Lamarche, and that name will mean nothing to you nor the sound of my voice, unless I become the brain from TV's Pinky and the Brain, or Calculon, the star of all my circuits from Futurama, or Heedless Bottoso from Futurama. And you are listening to Still Toking with on the Toking Podcast Network.
It's ruthless, but you don't know you can't undo this. The truth is, I'm in the business of revolution. It's booming, the scarecrow is musical evolution. A fusion of sounds we crowds gazing confused with.
Hey, happy Wednesday, everybody. You're watching Still Toking with. My name is Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. We have a fabulous, most incredible, awesome episode for you. And you know what? I don't know what to say. But anyway, Benjamin, how's it going, bud?
It's going well. It's going well. Fabulous, most excellent, awesome. I love it. I love it.
Well, I mean, you can't be nothing but super excited for tonight's guest.
Right. I mean, we've been doing this now 4 years. We've had a ton of awesome guests, a ton of legendary guests. And our guest tonight, I am putting in that legendary category. I'm super psyched to chat with this guy. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna let Jeff do his thing, so we can get to the show.
Jeffrey.
Happy Wednesday. Yeah, we're actually coming live we're in New York right now, which is really weird. You know, back here in New York. But no, I'm looking forward to this. I grew up actually listening to this guy most of my life. Imagine that. Never even knew his name. Now I do, because he plays so many different characters. You know? Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Clay, that gummy's kicking in already, you prick. Yeah, so let's just bring him in. Maurice Lamarche. Welcome. How you doing?
I'm well. I'm doing well today. How about yourselves?
We're doing very well. Like Jeff mentioned, we're back down here in New York at Diamond Production Studios, doing a little work with Mr. Diamond, and yeah, but super psyched to have a legend of your caliber on our show tonight.
Gentlemen, you're being too kind. I'm a lucky working actor. I'm just I showed up mostly on time for 35 years, and you know, just did my very best to have fun, create characters, try to make the people in the sound booth laugh, and you know, I've been very lucky not to be out of work. There was one period, 6 months in 2009, where I didn't have a single job, and I was sure the career was over. And other than that, I've just worked. You know, it's just for me all about doing good work. But you know, I've got to say that it's been behind the mic most of it. Now I've got this little film coming out that where I'm a character and I'm acting on camera, and it's great.
So before we get into this little film that's coming out, how was that transition for you, going from being behind the mic in some of the biggest roles out there to being on screen?
Well, okay, for me, I mean, I'd done some on camera early in my career, but then for me, it just turned out voiceover was, you know, you go through the open doors, as they say, and voiceover was it. You know, I was, you know, I started up with an episode of The Littles and an episode of the Wolfman Jack cartoon show, Wolf Rock TV, and then suddenly found myself on Inspector Gadget as the chief, and working with Don Adams, and then into Real Ghostbusters, where we did, I think, 106 episodes as Egon, and Dr. Egon Spengler, I collect spores, molds, and fungus, And then, and that's just one thing after another, job to job, and just, not giving up on the business, and just bringing my best. I just always made sure I insist on having fun, and I insist on making sure that people on the other side of the glass, because I can't hear them laugh, I have to make them laugh demonstrably so that I can see them going.
That's great.
Yeah. So, that's really what it's been for me. And one job has led to another. And of course, there've been high points. Certainly Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain have been high points. Futurama, real high point. I actually managed to win a couple of primetime Emmys with that show, and The Critic and Disenchantment, and these are shows that are really well written, and that's really, for me, the great thing is to get to do great writing in animation with these Harvard geniuses and we even had Harvard geniuses on the new Animaniacs. That Wellesley Wild took a cue from The Simpsons and of course from Family Guy, and recruited directly from the Harvard Lampoon. So we had very smart writing, and we have smart writing on the original show too.
Right.
Gordon Bresack, Peter Hastings, Tom Ruger, Charlie Howell, John McCann, Sherry Stoner. These were really brilliant people, and to come up with the characters of Pinky and the Brain and basing them on two writers, Tom Minton and Eddie Fitzgerald, also geniuses, was inspired, and he turned them into mice, and luckily I never heard Tom's voice, so when they drew him, he looked much more dour than Tom comes across. And I thought, they've drawn an Orson Welles lab mouse for me. They know I do Orson Welles,
right?
And, so and then Brain was born.
One of my all-time favorite cartoons. I'll tell you that right now. Pinky and the Brain. I loved it, and now I'll sit down and rewatch it, because you can find it on like Tubi and some of the other channels like that. I'll go back and rewatch it and rewatch it and rewatch it and rewatch it. And my wife will come in and she's like, "Really? Again?" I'm like, "Yes, it's funny as hell."
Oh, thank you.
Thank
you much. It's true. There really are very funny episodes, and yet it's not just joke driven. Those characters are lovable. Even Brain, who are thank you, John. Those characters are endearing, and their relationship to each other is something you want to watch. Because you've got Pinky, who just loves the Brain, will do anything to help, and you've got Brain, who cannot admit that he also loves Pinky. That's his struggle. So he likes to put up a front that he merely tolerates him, but the truth of the matter is he'd step in front of a bullet for Pinky.
Right. I think they need to bring it back for just one more, maybe full-length movie where they actually get to take over the world. Just let them have the world for a change.
Mr. Spielberg, are you listening? Oh, yes.
You never know.
I would love a movie. I would love there to be a movie. My fear about making a movie, though, is that they will celebrity stunt cast, and there will be Peter Dinklage and Russell Brand as the Brain and Pinky. And I have a great attachment to the character. Nobody else has ever played him. I've played him from episode 1.
Right.
And one day I'll either retire or die, and they'll bring it back, and somebody else will have to play it, and that's fine. I can only hear me doing it.
It wouldn't be the same.
He's mine.
No.
A lot of Bugs Bunnies. There've been a lot of Daffies. But when I listen to a Mel cartoon, and believe me, the people that are playing them are my friends. And I've done my best to step into Yosemite Sam, but nobody plays those characters like Mel. Mel is not only the original, but I think the best actor to play all those characters. This is really this is an acting job where we forget about the hair, lighting, and makeup, and the memorization. Which, to get back to Murder Anyone.
Yes.
murder anyone, because if you just say murder anyone, he sounds like a really indiscriminate serial killer. He'll just murder anyone.
Right.
Even Lecter had standards. Eat the rude Clarice. But I think that I had to find that skill set again. I had done some on camera early on in my career, and it was something I had to go and rediscover. Standing in your key light, learning to that. If I look at this eye, I'm this eye, and I'll go back and forth between the two eyes. People won't know who I'm looking at, and they'll lose focus if I lose focus. So, I got all that stuff. And one of the jokes I had on set with James Cullen Bresak was, "Am I using my hands too much? What do I do with my hands in this scene? Hand acting. I don't want to do hand acting." And he was like, "You're fine, Maurice. You're fine. Just put your hands down, relax your hands." And I've known James since he was 4 years old.
Right.
So, I'm not saying there's any nepotism involved here, but Gordon, his dad, Gordon Bresak, was one of my best friends. And we met on Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs. And then he created a show called Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys, probably the most underrated show, animated show of the 90s. Good science fiction. Right. Really, DC Fontana wrote a script. I mean, we had Michael Dorn, and we had Malcolm McDowell. Wow. We had real heavyweights from the science fiction world, on the show, and we became fast friends. We had an interesting matching level of cynicism, and so our humor was very similar, and so. And yet we were both cheerful men, I'm still a cheerful guy, but I have just enough, really, is that what's really going on here? That's kind of my approach. So, but Gordon was a lovely guy and a dear friend. And, he wrote 3 plays. I was there for the opening night of each of them. And Murder Anyone was the last play he wrote. It works really well as a play, although the transitions are a little tough. Because have you guys seen a screener of the film?
I got to watch a little bit of it, but we've been on the road since Saturday.
Okay,
so it was
the movie involves a lot of cutting between the reality of the 2 writers trying to write this thing and what they're writing, and the comedy comes from the fast transitions, and on stage it's really hard to achieve that. So, and of course the comedy comes from the bizarreness as they just take it further and further into the realm of silliness,
So, well, we do have the trailer queued up. So, would you like to introduce the trailer? We'll let Leo run it now, and we can run it again later in the show for everybody that may join us later.
In a world where one man runs a trailer of a movie that's dropping February 7th on many streamers, one man alone can press the button to run the trailer.
No matter how secure you are, how safe you feel, danger could be right at your shoulder.
Are you going to write any of this?
I wrote plenty.
Plenty? You wrote Act 1.
Okay.
Richard enters. He's a pleasant-looking chap with a perpetual grin.
He's dressed in tennis clothes.
Murder? Anyone?
Isn't it a little early in the play to show that Richard's a psycho killer?
Well, it does take a bit of the pressure off, doesn't it?
Wait a second, what is that? Someone in a chicken costume?
Why is it someone in a chicken costume? This is where we reveal that something is going on that the audience didn't realize.
There's something going on that I didn't realize.
You'd like to murder me, Blaine?
We can't have a psychic.
I am Mary Clemens. I am blind. I've been summoned.
By whom?
The dead.
This play could be our meal ticket.
Let's go, Cooper!
This is the final straw.
Murder anyone? Kung Fu zombies and Marilyn Monroe, and now a vampire?
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Oh yeah,
Okay, that
great.
looks fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
That looks fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I'm glad I got the screener link still. So, maybe we'll have to connect that to the TV tonight at the at the house and see if we can get it to stream so we can watch it. So we've had a ton of comments coming in, but we did have a couple questions.
Yeah. One
Yep.
of them. What was it like working with Frank Welker on the Real Ghostbusters?
Well, Frank and I, as I was kind of running down, sort of the beginnings of my animation career, Frank was beside me on Gadget, and really gave me, Gadget was my undergraduate work, and Real Ghostbusters was my beginning of my master's class, the master class. Frank was both a mentor, a teacher, and of course, a friend and comrade. I actually knew Frank before I got into cartoons because he was friends with Howie Mandel, and if you ran with Howie's crowd, it was fun and pranks and all kinds of great stuff. And a game called Volleyball, and it's volleyball at an indoor squash court, and so Frank and Howie and a bunch of us would play volleyball. So that's how I got to know Frank originally. And he just kept saying, because he'd come see me at the comedy store, you could do this, work. So Frank was very encouraging. And I found out after I next started auditioning that he had been talking me up to animation casting directors for a year. This is a guy who he could hoard every job to himself, but that's not who he is. He is generous and, believes that when there's somebody bit more right for the job, he recommends them. And he welcomed me in as the new kid on the block. So it was phenomenal because he taught me so many things about technique, about mic technique, and how to physicalize without making any noise. So many things, how to turn a page without blowing a take. I mean, little things that sound trite, but they are the reason that Frank Welker, it worked as much as he did. Just so expert and made everybody else's job easier, and knew how to create characters. And we talked about character creation all the time. It was great experience. And plus getting to bring and maintain the characters of Ray, Egon, Winston, and Peter, and keep them alive between the two pictures and even beyond that. It was great.
That's awesome.
Dear man. And still to this day, at 72 years old, still playing Freddy,
Wow.
with the same voice. He's been since 1969.
Wow.
Of course, he has literally no bad habits. As far as I know, Frank doesn't drink and he doesn't smoke. So he's got nothing,
right,
hurting the membrane down here.
Right.
Those are the big killers.
That is true. So there was another comment that came in, but I want to put that. No, that's the question. It was before that, Leo. It was from Brill Pro. I got it. So,
Brill, thank you so much. That's very sweet.
And
considering what a curmudgeon he is, Brain, he still gets under under your skin,
right?
Like asbestos. No, he's dear to me too. He's like my son, my obsessed son.
So you keep on throwing out these awesome impressions, but isn't that how you got your start? Was doing impressions?
That was my stand-up was all me being like the 80s Rich Little on speed. Everything was rapid fire, but yeah, I was really good at transitioning from character to character. I used to do a run of characters talking amongst themselves on a mock-up episode of Fantasy Island. If anybody remembers that show.
Yep.
Yeah, which was inspired by Second City sketch, much along those lines. I just decided to cast it with all celebrities, and so that was kind of my specialty, is the transitions, which served me really well on The Critic, because sometimes there would be runs where I was talking amongst myself for 3 or 4 pages. So yeah, I started as a mimic, and then learned from Frank the technique of sending two voices into the transporter and having them materialize on the planet as one person. That kind of reverse of what happened to Captain Kirk when he split into one who couldn't make a decision and one who was, wearing eyeshadow and trying to get into, Nurse Chapel's, you know what. Anyway, yeah.
That's great.
That Captain Kirk was canceled in the 21st century. Luckily, that story took place in the 23rd century when canceling is finally over with.
Oh, I love it. I don't want to hog all the questions, so it's
well, no, we have more in the chat, and I'm okay with that. This is why we do this live show, is so that our viewers and new viewers, and hopefully even more new viewers, interact with amazing guests such as Maurice. I mean, legendary voice actor here.
I mean, I saw you had Tommy Chong in the opening credits sequence and Kevin Conroy. I mean, these were two people that I've gotten to work with over my career. I got to work with Tommy in Zootopia, and that was great. I mean, I've admired him for years and years. And we recently brought back Mr. Big, my character from Zootopia and Zootopia Plus, and I got nominated for an Annie Award.
Very nice.
Yes, which is the Animated Film Society.
You got nominated for what?
An Annie Award.
Annie.
Okay.
Annie.
Okay. Thank you.
Annie, are you okay? It's the Animated Film Society of America Award. CIFA is the French acronym for the Société Animée de Recherche. That's how good my French is. But so that'll be on February 25th, and but it was really fun to bring him back, Mr. Big. He's a great character.
Wow, I mean,
so with Murder Anyone and getting back in front of the camera, do you want to start doing more of that? Do you have plans to do more of that?
I toy with it. I think about it. I mean, as I watched the film a couple times, and I actually picked up 4 Best Actor nods at the festivals that we entered. And I was like, well, geez, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should go after some on-camera work. I've done some things in the last couple of years that got a little notice. I did a Clio winning commercial for Xbox. It aired mostly in England and on the internet, but I played a pompous British announcer, trying to sell the game, and it was fun to be on camera for that. He was a great character. He actually became a voice you could put on your ways. So I was on people's ways for a few months, 5 years ago. So I think about it. I might pull some scenes from this, and some scenes from a movie I did called Witness Infection. It's another zombie movie, but it's a mafia zombie comedy. Zombies seem to figure heavily in my career, and just put together a little reel and see if anybody bites. Why not? Right. Acting is acting, whether it's voice, voiceover, and you're just in the studio, but certainly memorization was a huge part of doing this. That's not something you need to do.
So talking about acting, I saw that you have a couple episodes of, and it looks like you're doing a voice on it, but it's live action. You have a couple episodes of Yellowstone coming up. No. IMDb lied again. Damn it.
What? Did they really say that?
Yeah.
Bastards. No,
IMDb says you got 2 episodes of Yellowstone coming up.
No, that's not. It could be Jellystone.
Maybe he doesn't know it yet.
Maybe I've been cast and I didn't know.
Yeah, it says Yellowstone 2023. You're doing the voice of Etno Polino.
Oh, they must be. Oh, okay. Well, then I'll get a check for that. Yeah. If they reuse anything I've done, I remember there was a movie where the character is watching watching Pinky and the Brain, and occasionally I'll get a little residual check for that. But I guess Etno Polino is a character I played in a show called Space Goofs in the thousands. And he sounds like James Mason, you know. He's the scientist of a group of misfit aliens who find themselves hiding out in an apartment. It used to be called Room to Rent, and you know they're just trying to get back to their planet. So maybe he's on it. Maybe it's on in the background, which is fine with me because I'll get a check.
Yeah. Looks like it's 2 episodes. So yeah,
very cool. Very cool.
Kevin Costner must really love Space Goose.
I know. Have you seen Yellowstone?
I have. I haven't. I watched about the first 4 episodes of season 1, and then, it just, you know what it was? I found, and I don't mean to run the show down because I don't want them to edit me out. That's all right. We'll change it. We'll change to some other cartoon show. Oh wait, Lamarche is on that one too. All right, wait a second. How about nope? Lamarche is on that one too. Damn, is there a cartoon show in the 90s Lamarche wasn't on? So
yeah, but they weren't that good.
Yeah, right. So I just found me, I want to like at least one character on the show, and I didn't find anybody likable. So I mean, I only got 4 or 5 episodes in, and I was like, I don't like anybody. So it's hard for me to watch shows like that.
Yeah, it's like a Sons of Anarchy. You know, it's everybody's
There wasn't one
way.
character.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
yeah, you need that character to tie into. So
right.
If you're gonna like a show, you got to associate and feel good about at least one character.
But some people love that. Some people are. That seems to be the new way, and people get behind these shows. God knows the ratings are huge on Yellowstone, and it's prequel shows. So maybe it's me. That's in my day we watched television when the characters were relatable and likable and had a struggle that you could. Can you recall any characters that were maybe a bit more difficult to get into or find a voice for? John Running asks. That's interesting, and thank you for getting me out of that bit of improv that was going nowhere, John. Thank you very much.
See, I was enjoying the improv, right? And John asked a question, but Leo's the monkey behind the keyboard that brought it up on the screen too early.
That's all right. Tough to get into. I had a character in a show from the 80s called The Popples. The Popples were a toy that were basically based on the idea of, how you take your 2 socks and you fold them in together and then do that. Well, that's kind of what the Popples were. They're like a sock, and if you unfold it, there's a cute little face inside, and it becomes a little doll. But you take the bottom of it and fold it over itself, and so they pop and become your little buddy. And there was a character I had to play called PC Popple, which stood for Pretty Cute Popple, and he had to have this really high-pitched, ultra sweet, and John Running loved the Popples, and that's probably why he's torturing me by asking me to recount it. Ultra sweet character named PC Popple, and his voice was way up here, and he was just so cute and squeezy, and I was not allowed to play him with any kind of irony or sarcasm. He had to be as sincerely sweet as could be. And Marcia Goodman, who was the voice director who discovered me and who shepherded me through all Real Ghostbusters and all of Inspector Gadget and the Popples, she would say, "We can hear that you hate him. Do it again. Make it frickin' cuter." God damn it. So I had to go back and be PC and not sound like ironic at all. We hear you hate him still. Go back and do it again. So that was a struggle. That might have been, of all the characters I played, and believe me, I got vocal strain from several of them, including Yosemite Sam, who I love. That was the tough character to play because I really had to bury any and all disdain that I had for the ultra cuteness, cutesy wootsiness of this character. So, yeah.
Yeah, the 80s had some weird. The 80s had some weird cartoons, It's,
Well, the 80s had, suddenly you could make a show that is technically a half-hour long commercial.
Yep.
For a toy.
Yep.
And it's reverse engineering, and you made the show fit what you wanted your sales numbers to do, and it's not a great way to write, and it all starts with the script. So yeah.
I think that's how we ended up with the Wuzzles.
The Wuzzles, the Popples, anything ending in LES.
Right.
Yeah.
And you described the Popples, and you literally it sounded like a sock puppet.
It's exactly. Yep. And out of all your roles, which one do I treasure the most? I don't make a big secret of it. I mean, I love, especially my characters from Futurama. One of which, led me to two of which led me to primetime Emmys. I actually have 2 Emmys for my work on Futurama. So I love Lur, ruler of the planet Omicron Persei I-8, and I love Clamps, Clam Bam and Damp. These characters have been good to me. But I have to say, if there's one, it's Brain. The Brain from Pinky and the Brain is like he's my kid, like I said earlier.
Right.
I just feel so attached to him.
I didn't realize you played Toucan Sam for 37 years.
Yeah, I just recently lost the gig just before lockdown. In fact, I went in to do an episode of a dramatic podcast called Carcerum, which is winning awards all over the place. If you like serialized podcasts, look up Carcerum, Carcerem, and I actually get to introduce Cameron Crowe, and Cameron Crowe plays Barabbas, the biblical character who is spared instead of Jesus. But I went into that session, and Bill Holmes, the director, said, "Listen, I hate to tell you, but I just got a call to start casting for the new Toucan Sam," and I was like, "Oh wow, okay, well, listen, 35 years, nice run. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Get all resentful and grumpy? 35 years. I did follow your nose, it always knows. Kellogg's Fruit Loop cereal, and I'm still Toucan Sam in Canada. They haven't changed the box yet, so
right.
I'm still older, because they wanted to go with a young actor and make Toucan Sam more relatable to the kids, so he's their age. Whereas Toucan was always, Paul Frees's Toucan Sam, and then mine, that I stepped into when Paul died. It was always the uncle. It was like your uncle, your fun uncle who took you out flying and had you nosedive into fruit rings. Think of that when you will. But come on, boys, let's go to Glitter Island. Yeah, okay, Glitter Island, Uncle Toucan, whatever. So, what a run! I mean, that's a long time to have a job. So
that's awesome.
So, have you ever eaten Fruit Loops?
As a child and as an adult, as a kid you loved them, and as an adult they paid for your house. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. So Brill Pro asked, was there any animated series that you wish you would be in?
I've gotten to do most of the shows that I really love. I have not gotten to be in any of the Star Wars shows yet. I was so that's, but I think it might be that the powers that be over there see me as a comedy guy. I don't know, either that or I'm off their radar completely, but I know that I've not been able to even get an audition for any of the Star Wars shows. So I would like that. That would be fun. But I got to be on a Batman. I never did a Superman, but I did do a couple of episodes of the Batman the animated series. I finally got to be part of the Star Trek universe officially with Lower Decks. I had one line, but it doesn't matter. I'm in there. I'm in the Star Trek canon now.
Well, also you took over for DeForest Kelley in the video game. After he
was it Dark Just? No, not something. Justice is the title, as I recall. Yes, I did, but they never released the game. But I did step into the role of Dr. McCoy.
Yeah.
Why are you going over there, Jim? There's nothing over there. It was like I had a phone book worth of cues, because you played as one of the characters. So I had to say all kinds of things if you're playing as Captain Kirk. It was an interesting thing. It wasn't mocap, but they stayed very tight on my face because they wanted to animate. But I think it was abandoned. They never quite released the game. So
I think they missed the mark because you would have been a perfect voice for Grogu. I mean, you mentioned wanting to be Star Wars. That we don't know who's voicing Grogu yet, but we'll find out this season.
Is Grogu speaking yet? Is he?
He's supposed to speak this season, coming up.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, I don't know what it is with Lucasfilm, but they just. I shouldn't say I've never been able. I'm in Star Wars: The Old Republic. I play a character named General Val Suthra, who is a member of the same species as Admiral Akbar. So I played him as Gene Hackman.
Oh, no way.
General Val Suthra, the greatest criminal mind of our time. No, actually, he was a very honest character. But these here walls, will you shut up, please?
Oh my God, I love it.
I'm having a blast.
Your West Coast, my West Coast. Costa del Lex, Marina del Lex, Lutherville, Otisburg. I take a lot of with Pinky and the Brain. I take a lot of my cues from the Gene Hackman Ned Beatty relationship in Superman the movie. That to me was the perfect, uninformed idiot and informed idiot.
Yep.
Because as brilliant as Lex Luthor thought he was, it's a really stupid plan to blow up, 1/5 of the United States. And how smart could he be to keep a moron like around? So I loved their dynamic, and part of what I tried to emulate with Pinky and the Brain was based on that. You want to see a long arm, Otis? Do you want to see a very, very long arm?
Oh my God.
What was it like to voice Mr. Freeze? That's a great character. It was a cold, cold experience. Do not think this makes us friends, Mike, for asking that question. Well, I started with a different voice, believe it or not. The voice I auditioned with and they booked me on was a very it was not raspy, but I thought, here's a character who lives at sub-zero temperatures and who I thought in the initial accident that made him Mr. Freeze, maybe his vocal cords got frozen. So I read him with a very whispery and gravel, a lot of gravel in his voice, but also a lot of menace. And they thought, well, Kevin, God rest his soul, Kevin is doing his own gravelly thing as Batman. And they thought maybe that's just too much scratchiness on the screen. And Michael and Sarah had just gotten sick and was not up to playing Freeze. They would have used him if they could. But they suggested that I somehow make it my own, but pay homage to, don't do an impression, but pay homage to what Michael had done with Freeze for Batman the Animated Series. So it sort of came somewhere in between those two things, and I lost a lot of the rasp. But he had a cold heart, unless he was thinking about his wife Nora. You will bring me Nora, or you will die. So I had to play the obsession of that character to save his wife. So it's a noble mission. But in the interim, I have to be somebody who ignores the fact that he kills a bunch of other people whose families probably loved the security guard number 3 as much as he loves Nora. But that's the key with playing a psychopath. You have to play them as though they think they're right.
Wow.
So I was wondering, do you walk around talking to yourself a lot?
Yes.
That's what I figured.
That's because I will just try any sound, any vocal effect. I make these little pops and goofy sounds, and I'll just sometimes reach for something and go, hey, I'll just practice my Popeye, bending down to pick something up. Oh, yeah. Okay, Fred. I mean, just these little weird sounds come out of me all the time. And if I hear somebody interesting talking in a group setting, I'll actually just, you have a British accent. All right, let's see. I'll be like Siler. I'll be like trying to saw open the top of their head. Siler from Heroes.
Yeah.
And understand their mouth placement as they're talking.
So, and we still have a bunch of questions and comments
Yeah.
coming in. But before we ask any more questions about his amazing career, we are here to promote a movie called Murder Anyone.
I like that you go up on the end. You're honoring the comma and the question mark, because if you've done a couple of other podcasts, the host will say, your new film, Murder Anyone. I said, no, it's Murder Anyone, because if you just say Murder Anyone, you sound like he's like a really indiscriminate serial killer. Like he'll just murder anyone.
Yeah,
Murder anyone.
Even Lecter had standards, Eat the rude, Clarice. So yes, murder anyone. And
so like we said at the beginning of the show, we're here promoting Murder Anyone. We do have the trailer. We ran it earlier in the show. We're going to run it one more time for you folks. Maurice, would you like to bring the trailer in for a second time?
One man opens the trailer with his stomach and a paddle ball. But with that man rests the fate of the world, of the movie, of Murder Anyone. Watch the trailer. Enjoy.
No matter how secure you are, how safe you feel, danger could be right at your shoulder.
Are you going to write any of this?
I wrote plenty.
Plenty? You wrote Act 1.
Okay.
Richard enters. He's a pleasant-looking chap with a perpetual grin.
He's dressed in tennis clothes.
Murder? Anyone?
Isn't it a little early in the play to show that Richard's a psycho killer?
Whoa, it does take a bit of the pressure off, doesn't it?
Wait a second, what is that? Someone in a chicken costume?
Why is it someone in a chicken costume?
This is where we reveal that something is going on that the audience didn't realize.
There's something going on that I didn't realize.
You'd like to murder me, Blaine?
We can't have a psychic.
I am Mary Clemens. I am blind. I've been summoned.
By whom?
The dead.
This play could be our meal ticket.
Let's go, Cooper!
This is the final straw.
Murder? Anyone?
Kung Fu zombies and Marilyn Monroe, and now a vampire?
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Oh my God, that's great.
That's awesome.
Can I just give a shout out to Christos Andrews and Galadriel Steinman, Charlie Howell, who was Gordon Bressack's real life partner, and I think Gordon based a lot of the struggle that the two writers have on real arguments they might have about character. I mean, they work together. They work together beautifully, but as any writing team will have these little fights about the character motivations and everything. It's so funny. Charlie was when we finished the run of Pinky and the Brain, I went to a friend of mine who was taking acting class. He said, there's a buddy of mine in my acting class says he worked with you, Charlie Howell. I was like, Charlie Howell is taking the Meisner method? So I called him and said, Charlie, you taking Meisner? He goes, yeah, I still want to write, but I think it'll inform my writing, and I want to broaden my horizons and become an actor. And he's a wonderful actor in this film, and in most things that he's done. Carla Collins is hysterical as the psychic. She's so funny comedian. And Spencer Breslin is the guy in the chicken costume. Child actor Spencer Breslin.
Yep. And
brilliant.
For our amazing viewers and our amazing guests, Spencer will be coming on to chat more about this. I believe on the 15th of February we have him.
That's fantastic.
Now we just got to reach out and try to get Charles on the show, because that would be like, I would be in heaven. I'd be like, okay, and the brain. Oh, I've done it all. I'm good.
Yeah. Charlie he probably has so many great Gordon Bresnak stories, and together they won 3 Emmys for writing Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs. So, so together we get to kind of bring Gordon back to life with this.
Right.
Doing an out-and-out Gordon impression. Certainly the character is very much based on Gordon and the creative struggle.
Right. So I know before we came live, you and Leo had been talking about some events and cons that you're going to be at. So why don't we give some plugs to those? So all our fine guests that are watching or listening to us later on can maybe get off their butts and go out and meet a legend.
Sure. Well, no, hardly, but I'd love to say hi. I'll be in Stockton, California at Stockton Con, February 25th through 27th. And then I'm in
Hill County
Country Con in Austin, Texas, the first weekend in March. So it's it's so great to do these cons. You make a little money, but it's a nonstop parade of people who are coming to tell you what the show meant to them. I've had people tell me it got them through bouts of cancer as a child. Mm-hmm. If God forbid a parent passed away, it was their solace. I've had more than one person tell me that when they were in high school, they were being bullied, and they were thinking of ending it, and the show kept them company, brought them a laugh, so that they didn't do
the inevitable
thing. And so to be able to do comedy in any form, animated, live, stand-up, a film like Murder Anyone, entertainment is a rather noble pursuit, I've come to believe. It keeps us, as Stan Lee said it best, he said, it really keeps you from going off the deep end. And without entertainment, I think we'd all, definitely take life too seriously. Mm-hmm. And no one here gets out alive anyway, so we may as well laugh.
That is true. That's true.
Yeah,
100%. Go ahead, Leo. You look like you're itching.
I have a bunch of questions. I just didn't want to take up all the time, but
no, and we still have a few more in the chat, so we still have about 10 minutes, give or take.
Okay, so
I will do my best. To answer truthfully.
Well, so one big question I have is, I don't know if you heard recently, James Gunn did a big announcement for DC yesterday talking about the slate and, how they're going to be managing DC universe going forward. And one of the things that he said actually struck a chord online. He said that they're going to keep the animated and the video games and everything all in sync. So if an actor plays the character in a movie, it's going to be the same actor doing voice acting for the video game and the cartoon. And one director of the upcoming video game said that was a unreal expectation, that a lot of actors can't make that transition. And I just want to get your thoughts, because you've made that transition of going, regular voice acting and then video game voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, there are techniques to both types of acting, and animation acting and on camera acting are they both involve losing yourself in the character and embracing the reality of the scene moment to moment. But you have to really focus your performance, just here for the microphone in animation, and a lot of the on-camera people, they'll forget that and they'll start like emoting around, talking to the character next to them, and it's like, can't do that. For me, I take the cartoon. In other words, the white part of the script is where I project the cartoon, and the black part of the words I read. So whether I've got the same cartoon in my head as the director and the animators, it still serves me to see it and put my voice in that character's mouth. doing a live action film like Murder Anyone or Murder Anyone, you know, I had to really put myself in the room, and so it's a different technique, and yet at the core of it, you just have to be somebody who can lose yourself in a character and a scene. So I found it easier to go the other way because voice acting can also be a little more extreme. You have to do about 10% more because you're only using your voice. So you can't be completely flat. But it is something that can be achieved, So I don't know. I don't know whether it's too much for a lot of actors. I think it can be something that can be taught. But there are people that can do both. There are definitely actors that can do both. Cary Elwes was wonderful on Pinky and the Brain, and he's a guy that certainly knows his way around a film set and in front of the camera. And he's become a dear friend of both Rob Paulson's and mine. And it remains to be seen. I'm just sad Henry Cavill won't get a chance to come back and really take another run at Superman and have a little more fun with it. I think we've seen enough dark Superman.
Yep.
We've seen something a little lighter, but
yeah. Well, it sounds like they're definitely going a lot lighter with the new one. So it'll be interesting to see where they go.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, John wants to know what advice you would give someone getting into voice acting. Become a good actor first. It's small V, big A, as Rob Paulson and I both like to say. People, come to us and say, "Well, I was told I have a really interesting voice and I should get into voice acting," and that's great. But can you act? Can you make me believe that these words, are just coming to you? That you're not reading something. You're in it. So become a good actor. Do all the things. Rob came to voice acting as a singer, as a rock and roll singer. Same with Jess Harnell. Tress McNeil. If I'm just taking my Animaniacs peeps, she came to it from the Groundlings. Same with Lorraine Newman, who's a wonderful voice actor. Improv training, sketch comedy training, even writing training. I studied with Danny Simon, Neil Simon's brother, for a year, and it changed the way I approach characters because Danny teaches you how to think comedically in the course of writing, and that was very valuable to me, even though I don't have the discipline to be a writer. Never mind where do your ideas come from. How long can you make your ass stay in that chair, stare at the white, the flashing cursor and the white page in your final draft? That's what makes a writer, and I just don't have the attention span for it. So to me, that's how Gordon and I became such good friends. I mean, I just have so much respect for writers, and to me, the writer is king. So the fact that a great writer like Gordon Bresack let me hang around with him it was just so much fun.
That's awesome. When you were first starting out, you opened for Rodney Dangerfield and George Carlin. How was that?
Wonderful. George was terrific. I only had like one conversation with him. I was just doing a weekend with him at Caesars. But I had touring with Rodney Dangerfield for a year and a half was great. Rodney was so generous to young comedians. He wanted to protect young comedians, so he didn't want anybody to go through what he had to go through. He would say to me, he goes, man, when I was coming around, man, I played shit joints, man, and I don't want you guys to have to go through that kind of stuff. So, so I remember going to one gig in Latham, New York. It was a theater in the Round, and they had this giant billboard. Well, it was a billboard that was literally on a spike, 100 feet in the air. It looked like something out of the Jetsons, So it was this thin spike, and then the billboards that faced the highway. And my name wasn't on it, and Rodney went ballistic. It just said, "Tonight, Rodney Dangerfield." And we pulled in, and he got off the tour bus and went right in. and he started yelling at the theater manager, "Get that kid's name up there, all right? His job's hard enough without them not knowing there's an opening act, okay?" And I was like, "Oh gosh, I hope he doesn't." Saying to his road manager, "I don't want him to go to any trouble for me." And then the road manager came and got me about an hour later, and he said, "Come here." There was a guy on a cherry picker risking his life with the suction cup with MAU. So it was a ride, to be sure, to open for Rodney all those years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I am going to say we have probably about 5 minutes left, folks, for everybody watching out there in the interweb. If you have any questions, now's the time to get them up here, because we might have time for one or two more before we have to let this amazing gentleman go. So
one or two more.
Anyways, either one of my co-hosts have hosted co-hosts.
Hosted, co-hosted.
Go for it, Jeff.
Co-hosts. Yeah. Either one of you two have any more questions?
Yeah, it's gonna come back into my head.
Oh God, we'll be here for a while.
I don't want you to. I don't want you to count. The Pinky and the Brain stuff, and I'll say mid '80s up. But before that, what was your favorite character to get into in the early days? Because they were different back then.
It was. Egon was great. I loved playing Dr. Egon Spengler. He was, because you had to play him deadpan. And I honored the Harold Ramis spirit. And probably did more of an impression of him than I should, and yet it probably wasn't so bang on that it would have fooled a member of his family. But he was fun to play. In Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, I played a guy named Tomato Guy, and he was like a Woody Allen-ish kind of character, and he was always very tomato. He just always spot the killer tomatoes. And another guy named Zoltan, who was the henchman of John Aston, and so he was kind of like where Louis De Palma was placed, And the most fun of that though was getting to know Rob Paulson. That's where we met on Attack of the Killer Tomatoes in the '90s, and we discovered our mutual love of all things Monty Python and Peter Cook, Dudley Moore, especially the underground Peter Cook, Dudley Moore tapes called the Derek and Clive tapes, where it just hilarious filth, and they totally improvised after a few drinks, get in the recording studio, just hit record and just improvise. So those things. Those are big faves of mine.
Very cool.
And my last question for you is: do you collect anything?
Dust. I'm here collecting dust. I've got some animation art. Some of it's up here in the office. Memorabilia. But my wife is, doing everything she can to keep me from taking on any more stuff. But yeah, I used to have quite a videotape collection. I had the entire, back when you manually recorded things.
Mm-hmm.
I recorded every episode of The Honeymooners.
Nice.
And I had an extensive collection before that stuff ever was available on DVD or home video. So yeah, I have 1,000 videotapes. They're all in storage now.
Okay.
Yes. My wife Robin will not allow me to display my pristine home video collection with all the labels that are peeling off. And
Wait, you can digitize them, and I'm sure a lot of that stuff you probably can't find.
Yeah, well, I probably should have used the pandemic for that.
Yep.
I had a lot of time during the pandemic.
Right.
Should have sat there digitizing all my home video, but I didn't. So,
Leo?
I'm going to ask a similar question. So what do you dork out about? So for example, we had Bruce Valanche on, and he's really big into into like sunken vessels and sunken ships and the history of that.
Yeah.
What is something that other than your career that you really dork out about? Like you do
Really
any video
interesting.
games?
No, I'm more. I didn't know that about Bruce. You know, he and I almost worked together. My manager was trying to kind of get my writing to the next level back in the '90s, and we actually had a meeting with Bruce, and because he was then the hottest writer going, and we just kind of decided that he didn't write for impressions quite the same way that we, he didn't want to write conceptual stuff. He was a good joke writer, and that's what he liked working on. But I didn't know that about him. That's so funny. I'm a comedy nerd. I love to go deep in comedy. I dork out on anything Python. I dorked out when I met John Cleese.
Nice.
I mean, I literally chewed my tongue. And he was so gentlemanly but very unimpressed by me, because I just was like, Mr. Cleese, I just want to tell you that because he's very tall, so I'm looking up. You were inspiration to me. Rob Paulson and I, Pinky and the Brain argument sketch. He was just like, very nice, very, very nice. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that was it. And he moved on throughout the party, and I never had a chance to tell him how much he really meant to me. And anyway, I don't know if I'll ever get the chance again.
That's
amazing.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome. And you know what? I think on that note, Leo.
Yep, we'll wrap it up.
Wrap up.
There we go.
Cooking. I'll just say cooking. That's the other thing. I'm a cooking nerd. I love cooking shows. I can stay on master classes, all the chefs. That's my other big nerd. My nerd out is cooking and little kitchen hacks and things like that. Sous vide. I'm heavily into sous vide right now.
Oh.
Yes. All right. Now you can wrap up the show, Leo.
I want to thank everybody for watching this fine evening. For me, just Google Leo Pond. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which, but I run the Dorkening Podcast Network. We got a ton of shows on the network. There's a lot of awesome people doing a lot of awesome stuff. Matter of fact, we're going to be doing a live show in about 45 minutes, another live show. So the Dorkening. So just go look for that. And Maurice, where do you like people interacting with you on social media?
Well, I'm on both Instagram and Twitter. On Twitter, I'm Maurice Lamarche, all one word, much as it's spelled there, here. Anyway, MauriceLamarche, all one word. And then Instagram, I do a very clever thing. I put an underscore between my first and last name, so it's Maurice_Lamarche. And that's where you can see me. That's where you can interact with me.
Awesome.
And ask me anything, and I may answer you.
Very cool. Jeffrey.
So first, I want to thank Maurice for joining us. What a ball of fire, man. Love you. And for us, just go to stilltoking.com. Find us on Facebook at Toking with the Dead. I don't know the Instagram, Twitter bullshit. That's all Ben's crap. I'm too old to deal with that fucking shit. So go to stilltoking.com.
Okay. Benjamin.
I don't know, man. I don't know who gave him the gummy. I'm sorry. But no, like Jeff said, stilltoking.com is where you can find out everything you want to know about us, from the comic book to the novel to the TV series to the potential animation to this show. And we are going to drop this tonight real quick for everybody that stayed here. We still got a ton of viewers. You can start to catch us on Red Coral Universe on every platform out there: Roku, Fire Stick, Google Play, Apple TV. So we're going to be running on Red Coral Universe's OTT coming soon. So again, thank you to Maurice for coming out and hanging out with us. I mean, I'm still beside myself. I got to sit here and talk to the brain.
Yes.
I feel like a kid in a candy store. It's amazing. But to all our veterans and first responders, we want to thank you for doing what you do so people like us can do what we do. Stay safe. We'll see you next week. Hell of a season coming up, folks. You don't want to miss it.
Oh, yeah. And Maurice, stay with us just 30 seconds. We'll be right back.